Well, I hope you all enjoyed the church. It's a lovely one, isn't it? It's for our churchyard tour now. Not a great amount of legible names on headstones, but this churchyard tour is a little bit unlike some of my other ones, and it has quite a cheerful element to it. So I'll read you out this. St James, Bermondsey. For the first quarter of its life, St James's, like other parish churches, had a burial ground, and under the church was a crypt where parishioners could arrange for their remains to be interred in the vaults. London's parish burial grounds were closed in the years after 1855 as part of the effort to remove cemeteries away from built-up areas in response to the need to control the spread of plague. After its closure, local people used the churchyard to dry washing. Over the next 30 years it became neglected, overgrown, without income from burials. It was merely a drain on the parish finances. In 1886 the churchyard was landscaped. A fountain in the churchyard commemorates its opening in June 1886, which we saw in our opening scene to the church. The next year the church transferred the management of the new park to the Bermondsey Parish Vestry, and in succession to Bermondsey Borough Council and the London Borough of Southwark. The new park was short of play space. Local children used the granite balustrades of the front steps of the church as slides. By the interwar period, the granite had been worn shiny by generations of use. Arthur Carr, chairman of Peak Friends Biscuit Company, who used the churchyard as a shortcut to get to work, was so struck by the amount of fun the children got out of the slide, he decided to create a real one. The Joy Slide opened in 1921. It was a major occasion, attended by local luminaries like Ada Brown-Salter, George Lansbury, Mr. Carr. Mr. Carr, as the donor, got the first go. The Joy Slide was another local landmark, giving generations of Bermondsey children fun memories. By the 1980s, this 60-year-old slide had become dilapidated and was removed. Recent refurbishments to the churchyard have been funded by local developments at Bermondsey Spa. Improvements have included an ecology garden and landscaping of the forecourt of the church, and works to restrict unauthorised vehicle access and parking. A new pedestrian link improvements to the lighting, and planting flower beds and bulbs. And as I say, there aren't a great many legible tombstones, but what there are we'll cover. They're just over here, and there are some over the other side as well. Like most London churchyards, the tombstones have been stacked against the sides. Sacred to the memory of Captain John William Hullin, Hullin, who was drowned December the 24th, 1846, on his passage from Messina to London, aged 38, and Eliza Ann, the only daughter of the above, who departed this life June the 18th, 1848, aged 11 years. And you've got an also, but it's covered up with this stone below. Mr. Thomas Harling, and I wonder if Hullin and Harling, because the spellings weren't always that great in those days, if it's in relation. Mr. Thomas Harling, late of this parish, who died April the 27th, I think that's 37, in his 47th year. And you've got also Catherine, but then the rest of that is completely blistered away, so you're not going to see who that is. And you've got sacred to the memory of Mr. Thomas Sedman, S-E-D-M-A-N, who died December the 15th, 1847, aged 80 years. Charles Abraham Mansell, M-A-N-S-E-L-L. You can't really see much of the inscription. And you've got something with a Mansell. It's very worn away. At least you get the surname of it. There's another one over here, and then other than that the rest of them are completely worn away. Mrs. Mary Ann. O-N-L-E-Y, Ongley. Mrs. Mary Ann Ongley. And then you've got Charles Henry Hongley. In much better condition and much easier to, well, in better condition. Sacred to the memory of Mr. Thomas Strickland of this parish, who departed this life 16th of September 1852, aged 75 years. Then you've got Mr. Richard Strickland, son of the above, who departed this life the 6th of February 1850, aged 35 years. Likewise, the something children of Thomas and Anne Strickland. You've got James, aged 12 months, William, aged 16 months, Mary Ann, 6 years and 8 months. And you've got Thomas, 10 months. There's no years given for him. Elizabeth, 27 years. And Mary, and her one's gone, but it looks like the startings of a 4, so whether that's 40 something or not, I don't know. The draped urn, quite a common symbol on tombstones in those days. Be a vault under there. Alright, and we shall go around this way. You colloquial one magpie to cheer things up a little bit. These ones here, these box tombs, any inscriptions that there may have been on them have long worn away. Same as that one there, which has been repaired. This here is like a sundial, whether it was a memorial or not. This one just there, I don't know. Or a gravestone or something. I've seen bird bath gravestones before, or tombstones, so anything is possible. And as you see, look, you could scrape the moss away, but this is grade 2 listed, this church and its churchyard, so you'd probably get in trouble if you did that. Joanna. You can't really make much more of that out, I'm afraid. In affectionate remembrance of Anne Caroline, the amiable and beloved wife of William Lucy, and fourth daughter of Captain Thomas S. Honour Cubitt of Yarmouth, Norfolk, who departed this life the 24th, September the 24th. It's 1860 something, but the last digit's gone, aged 45 years. interred at Nunhead Cemetery. See, they banned any further burials after 1855, so that will be 1860s. Also, the above William Lucy. As you can see, pretty much everything of his is worn away as well, but it does say interred, and then that's going to be at Nunhead Cemetery. Also of William Cubitt Lucy, medical doctor, CM, their second son, and that's interred somewhere else as well. And on here you've got to the memory of the grandchildren of William and Anne Lucy. William Lucy Lipscomb. And then it gets progressively worse from there on down. In memory of William and Anne Lucy. DD. And then you've got little spittings of, and they're interred and interred at, so they're going to be buried somewhere else as well. And the original occupants, their inscription was here, so it would have been right on the show as you came in through the churchyard. So yeah, which is long worn away. But this one over here, and I want you to bear this grave in mind for our historical segment, because I've been able to glean a little bit of information on the husband. Sacred to the memory of Mary Hannah, wife of Mr. William Scrivener of this parish, who died July the 6th, 1849, aged 36 years. So she died very young. But as I say, bear this one in mind, because there is a historical segment at the end of it, and these are the only people really I've been able to glean any information on from the churchyard, and I've kept the rest of our historical segment on its cheerful theme. Before we go over to that side, I'll show you this. This is the crypt which people used to shelter in during the Second World War. But if you look through there, there's a tunnel that leads through here that goes down this side. And this is a dual purpose tunnel. This A, ventilation, and B, these openings here, which have long been barred up and sealed. You can see the opening in there was one of the ways they would get coffins into the crypts or into the vaults for the appropriate area they needed it to be in. Yeah, they go right along. As I say, people sheltered down in this one in the Second World War, which must have been a frightening experience for people, mustn't it? I was warned not to go near this one at the end here, so we're going to cut back across Ye Churchyard, looking at the church. And past, of course, I mustn't forget to mention these stone balustrades down which the kids used to slide. Bear that theme in mind. I did say we had more of a cheerful theme. Then we go over to this side of the churchyard where there are more tombstones. You can walk through this area here, which is like a little ecology, nature reserve kind of thing. There is a small tombstone or plinth of something there. It's quite small, looks small to be a tombstone, but it looks as though it's been there for quite some time. No writing on it that I can find. But over here you'll see a piece of the original churchyard railings and its tiny little gate that they didn't take away during the Second World War, because a lot of churches, and this one including, had quite a big chunk of its iron railings taken away to help the war effort. So it's all fun and games, isn't it? And that takes you out onto this area here with this decking, which is a wee bit sketchy. It creaks, but I've walked on it a couple of times and it's been alright. Making sure there's no dog shite. It's a shame that they're so worn away. But nice that they've been retained. Oops, can't have everything. Nearly fell over then. You've got some over here that have got inscriptions on. These ones, and these annoy me. These are the ones that really bug me. Look, you can just see, and when you come up to it you think, oh, I might be able to make that out, but no. Sacred to the memory of Susanna Maria, wife of Mr. John Thorpe, of Her Majesty's Customs, who departed this life the 5th of January 1846, aged 88 years. Also John Thorpe. And then the rest of his inscription, as you can see, is gone. So he was a customs officer, Mr. John Thorpe. You can just make out on this one, here life interred, and then it's got Elizabeth. The rest of it, well, just worn away to shittery basically. To the memory of Mr. John Sinfield of this parish, who died February the 19th 1840, aged 74 years. Also Mrs. Hannah Sinfield, wife of the above, who died July the 2nd 1845, aged 66 years. And you've got this one here, sacred to the memory of Mr. Benjamin Bowles, died February the 8th 1830, in his 75th year. Also Mrs. Penelope Edin, and you can see it's gone, who died in November. Most of that's gone, I'm afraid. But there's one over here, and we'll walk around the apple tree to show you that. I can't think if it's this one. Yes, sacred to the memory of Mr. Griffith Jones of Dolgelly, North Wales, Died August the 20th, 1852, aged 25 years. And this one, sacred to the memory of Captain John Owens of the schooner Lois of Carnarvon, who departed this life the 5th day of September 1854, aged 29 years. Ye men, growed, oh, it's in Welsh. The inscription's in Welsh. There's a couple of Welshmen buried here. Foxes. They can be a problem in old churchyards because they bring bones up, which is not very nice. In memory of Anne, the beloved wife of William Jones, Master Mariner from Bangor, another Welshman, who died August the 22nd, 1854, aged 25 years. And there's another inscription in Welsh. So if any of you can transcribe that. Owens. That just simply says Owens, that one. And I wouldn't mind betting they're Welsh either. CJ, 1852. Sacred to the memory of Mrs. Catherine looks like VG, Mrs. Catherine Voy, who departed this life, who died February the 15th, 1841, aged 59 years. Also Mr. Joseph Palmer, grandson of the above, who died April the 3rd, 1849, aged 1 year and 8 months. Also of Robert, looks like Wootton Palmer, who died, the month's gone, no, it's May, it died something in May the 23rd, 1851, aged 11 years. To the glory of God and the memory of Sophia Horsley. So it is 1890. That's this one here, parts of which are missing. And you've got this one here, which you can see is really badly blistered, but you've got also Mrs. Mary Warren, W-O-R-R-A-N. The above, who died May, years gone, aged 56. Also Robert Allen, and it's B-R, and the rest of it's gone. Grandson, who died, aged, gone. See, when they blister, you lose loads of the inscription. Sacred to the memory of Mrs. Sarah Wake, wife of William Wake of this parish, builder, died 16th February 1848, aged 60 years. Affliction sore long, affliction sore long, time I bore, physicians was in vain. I God did please, and death did cease, to ease me of my pain. And then you've got also the above William Wake, who died the 20th of November 1847, aged 54 years. And if there was any inscription for Mr. William Wake, the builder, it's gone. And I said the more joyful element, and that's what we shall end off with. You'll remember the little bit of information about the joy slide. The old joy slide was taken down, unfortunately. But this relatively new children's playground area, and it's got a load of historical information on it just round here. So there's newspaper clippings and things from the biscuit box. They'll feature in the historical thing at the end of the video, but the original joy slide was given to the children of Bermondsey by the director of local Peak Friends biscuit factory, Arthur Carr. He saw that the children of Bermondsey were playing on the steps of the church and wanted to provide them with a proper slide. Inspired by a similar slide that Arthur visited in Eastbourne, it was a substantial structure constructed from timber in a mock Tudor style with a tiled roof. The joy slide was designed by architect Mr. Kennard and built by W.J. Dixon in 1921. The opening ceremony was attended by important social reformers of the time, including Ada and Alfred Salter, George Lansbury, Reverend G.R. Ballanine. It was damaged by arson and removed in the 1980s and had become an important part of the local community and has been sore missed. And this new one, you see here, is with thanks to those who donated more than £1,000 to the construction of the slide: the London Borough of Southwark, Cleaner, Greener, Safer, Viola Environmental Foundation, St Olave's and Bermondsey United Charities, Woolwich Area Mission Fund, Grosvenor, Thames Tideway, that's the ones who's building the new sewer, Rotherhithe Consolidated Charities, and United St Saviour Charity in kind. So you'll get all these at the end of the video, with some historical images. So that concludes our tour. Hope you all found it interesting. And of course, being a churchyard tour, we have to have just one little remembrance of the people that we've visited, in memory of all those at rest in this garden. This is where ashes are scattered now as well, so, and this was donated by Albin and Sons. So, as I say, thank you for watching. And now for the historical stuff. And here we see the churchyard in circa 1878. So by this point there'd been no new burials in the churchyard for around 28 years. But if you look over to the right, you can still see some of the original tombstones in their original place. And I always like to cover the human aspect and element of people when we cover these churchyard tours. And you may remember the grave of Mary Hannah, wife of Mr. William Scrivener, and she died on the 6th of July 1849 at the relatively early age of 36 years. Now, a little bit of research into Mr. William Scrivener and the family has shown up that he was the landlord of the Royal Oak pub, Maltby Street, number 60 Maltby Street, and the pub existed from at least 1843. And if you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see him there, 1843, William Scrivener, Post Office Directory. Now, here is the Royal Oak pub and hotel, and it looks a lovely one, which is a shame because this pub and pretty much the entire swathe of the old Maltby Street would be wiped away by the war and pre- and post-war slum clearances to give us the Maltby Street that we see today in this image. So that's a little bit of our human aspect covered. And I did say to you that this churchyard tour would have a little bit of a joyful or more cheerful element, and so it has. Here we see Arthur Carr, who was responsible for the first joy slide. And I love this image because what you see here are the kids sliding down the granite balustrades of the church, which we saw in our tour, which were polished smooth by dozens of years of young Bermondsey backsides. Anyway, it was seeing that gave Mr. Carr the idea and inspiration of having a proper slide installed for them. Here's the information about the slide. So I'll pause for around 15 seconds on each page and then move on. Pause if you need to read. And here are those newspaper cuttings that I did say I would photograph from the biscuit box, December 1921. And here you see the joy slide on its opening day in 1921. Everyone gathered round, and Mr. Arthur Carr, being the creator or inspiration for the slide, he got the first go. And now I'll show you some original silent movie footage from that day. And here you see the churchyard in 1931 with its lovely tulip garden. And if you look over to the sort of top right area, you can still see quite a few of the tombstones laid out against the wall. So they were still visible then, a lot of them. Anyway, that concludes our tour of the churchyard of St James. I hope you all found it interesting. And our next one, we don't have to travel too far at all. So join me for that, the Gregorian.